Number one, they should shut it down. Number two, they should give the money back to a lot of countries that we shouldn't be taking and they shouldn't be taking money from. Countries that influenced her totally. And also countries that discriminate against women and gays and everybody else. I mean, that money should be it should be given back. They should not take that money.
Close the Clinton Foundation. Donald Trump this morning on Fox and Friends, joining the calls to shutter the organization over troubling donations from foreign nations that are proving problematic for Hillary. Now, for more on the story, we're pleased to be joined by Newsmax TV political analyst and presidential strategist Dick Morris, celebrating his 4th week on the New York Times bestseller list with his new book, Armageddon: How Trump Can Beat Hillary. And as we wait to connect with Dick Morris, we proffer those congratulations to him. Tell you what, before we get Mr. Morris in, let's go to the phones at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. And let's go to Atlanta, Georgia, where Sandy is standing by. Hi, Sandy.
Hi. I think because reporters don't do their job, that Trump needs a commercial that shows some clips of, like, take the leaked email that pertains to Chuck Todd and then take a clip of Chuck Todd making some snide remark about Trump or glossing over Clinton's emails or Comey's conclusion or something like that. And that email, Wasserman Schultz tells him, this has got to stop. You know, have you read the emails? I mean, they are amazing.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole inside story. The other thing I would note, Sandy, that you may have a future as a media consultant, because you offer a really interesting outline on how to deal with the press, and we thank you for checking in tonight from Atlanta. Now via Skype, we are pleased to be welcomed by Dick Morris. Dick, again, congratulations, 4th week on the New York Times bestseller list. And since you're a man who is a word merchant there in Armageddon, and since Sandy was just calling about headlines, I'm just curious. The Valentine that the Washington Post tried to give Hillary over the weekend, the headline, with a comfortable lead, Clinton begins laying plans for her White House agenda. Does that rank with the Election Day headline of the Chicago Tribune, Dewey defeats Truman?
I was just thinking the same thing as you said it. The fact of the matter is, despite the media's attempts to portray this election as over, it clearly is not, and Trump has gained significantly in every single poll over the last 10 days. Now, let's understand there are 2 kinds of polling. There are telephone polling and online polling. In the telephone polling, Trump has been an average of 4 to 6 points behind. In the online polling, there are 2, one by John Zogby, who frequently appears on this network, and another by USC, the LA Times. Both of those show Trump either ahead or tied. Now, Zogby has a theory where he says that people are embarrassed to say they're for Trump because the media has made him into this monster. And therefore, when they vote online, they tell the truth. And when they talk to a pollster, they may say they're undecided when they're really for Trump.
You know, you mentioned that, Dick, and I flash back to Jesse Helms versus Harvey Gantt in that North Carolina Senate race as you consulted Jesse Helms. But let me bring you back to the headlines today. Donald Trump on the attack, saying the Clinton Foundation should be shut down. Is that going to have an impact on Hillary? And conversely, will that help Trump with his numbers even more?
Yes, absolutely. Trump has been just fantastic the last week and a half. He's on message. He stopped making mistakes. He has substantive news that he puts out there each day. What happened was last week, I think on Friday, which is when they usually do it, Hillary's people at the foundation put out a statement saying, we've decided we're not accepting any contribution from foreigners. No foreigners, no foreign corporations. But that means we'll continue to accept bribes from Americans. So the bribes will be made in the USA, would satisfy Trump. And now Trump is saying that obviously was her way of saying she's not going to close the thing down. She would be a sitting president of the United States with a great big pit, a barbecue pit for money, where people could throw it into the pit and in return get to see Hillary or get to have the president take favorable action. Never been something like that before. And it was Hillary's way of saying she's going to do it by not borrowing it from accepting domestic contributions. And then Trump nailed her right between the eyes with this statement today. And I think it was terrific. Have you noticed that Hillary's withdrawn from this race? She's not running. She's not out there. She's not in public. She's not making statements. She hasn't had a press conference in 9 months. And I think that she is scared of the email controversy.
And I want to bring that up right now. Let's talk some about the email controversy. Of course, Hillary tried to shift the blame onto former Secretary of State Colin Powell. The general is not king on that. He told People magazine, quote, "Her people have been trying to pin it on me. The truth is she was using the private email server for a year before I sent her a memo telling her what I did." And he made a further distinction. How much of this is a mistake? Reminding the electorate that Hillary has a casual relationship with the truth.
Yeah, well, the problem is that this casual relationship with the truth was a statement made to an FBI officer.
Oh, yeah.
That's like you're under oath. In fact, it's worse than you're under oath. And that was a statement she made. Now, first of all, the fact is that Colin Powell, in the early days of the internet, the State Department system only connected State Department employees to one another. If you wanted to go outside the State Department, you had to use an outside server. And Powell did not create a private server. He just used AOL and never sent classified material over it. Hillary juggled that to say that he also had a private server just like her. And as Powell points out, a memo he sent Hillary explaining what he did arrived a year after she had been doing this anyway. And she never mentioned Colin Powell before, not in any of her statements, not in any of her testimony. Her aides never mentioned that. She mentioned that Powell had done something like this before, but not that he'd been in touch with her, and not that she was following his advice. So she has gotten herself into a real pickle now with the FBI for making a false statement to the agents.
Got about 3 minutes left, and I want to get into another thing that I don't think is a controversy yet, but it deals with Donald Trump and some of the reporting over the weekend. You know, early on, Donald Trump was so outspoken against illegal immigration, building that border wall and sending illegals back home. That was the cornerstone of his campaign. Let's listen to a brief montage, then I've got a couple of questions.
Oh, we're going to build a wall. Don't worry, we're going to build a wall. We are going to build a great border wall. We're going to build a wall. It's going to be built.
The wall just got 10 feet taller, believe me.
But with Kelly Conway taking over as campaign manager, the Trump immigration policy could be, quote, evolving. Listen to what she told CNN.
What he supports is to make sure that we enforce the law, that we are respectful of those Americans who are looking for well-paying jobs, and that we are fair and humane for those who live among us in this country. And as the weeks unfold, he will lay out the specifics of that plan that he would implement as President of the United States.
Will that plan include a deportation force, the kind that you just heard in that soundbite and that he talked about during the Republican primaries?
To be determined.
All right, so here's the deal tonight, Dick. Trump on the stump in Akron, again talking about a border fence, but his major speech on immigration, the major policy address he was going to give, has been delayed for, quote, fine-tuning. Can you translate that for us?
Yeah, I think that there's pushback within the campaign to retreat on this, A, on the issue of the wall, and B, on the issue of deportations. I hope he does not. He's going to win this election without changing his position on that. But there's a little known fact that I'd like to tell the listeners of Newsmax. Do you know who first built a border wall? You do. But to your listeners, Bill Clinton, with Hillary's support. I just watched a video clip of her in 1993 advocating a border wall. And Bill Clinton built a 325-mile-long border fence, they called it, but it was a wall, 20 feet high in some places, along the California-Mexican border, extending into Arizona a little bit. That was originally to have been part of a continuous wall on the frontier, and it was built by Bill Clinton with Hillary Clinton's overt and active support. And in the Congress, she voted for funding for a wall. So I think Trump needs to get out there and start talking about Mrs. Clinton's contradictions on this issue.
Yeah, it would be worth noting. Of course, when you asked the question, you said, who first built a border wall? I was thinking the Chinese with their Great Wall, not limiting it to the United States. Dick Morris, author of Armageddon, 4th week on the New York Times bestseller list. Dick, as always, we appreciate your insight and analysis. Now, you want to stay with us because when we come back, more of your phone calls at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. And also, straight ahead, you know 'em, you love 'em, Diamond and Silk will be here. So keep it right here on Newsmax Prime.